Okay, this video is going to show how we can set up an online submission for the Rising Senior Fund using Google Forms and how to bring that into Notion and really do some significant automation of this process. So in front of us here we have the Rising Senior Fund guidelines, and there's three main questions: prior summer service, proposed activity, and connection to academic career development. Of course, the students, the name, the school, that kind of stuff. So what we've done is we've created a Google form to capture that information. So there's the directions, captures the email, the name of the person submitting, and then the three main questions: proposed summer service, proposed activity, connection to academic career interest. And then we want a little bit of information about their budget. These are all text answers, except for the email. So as you know, when they get submitted, they end up in a Google Sheet. You can click it here, view it in Sheets, and I've already done that over here. So right here is the actual Google Sheet, and this is my dummy submission. So I captured some information and put that in there. That's the first set of steps. And you can see those steps here, Rising Senior Fund. This is the workflow. Google Form to Google Sheets. And then I'm going to show you how we use Zapier to link that Google Sheet entry into Notion. First thing to show you is our Notion portion. Here in our Campus Center dashboard, we have a single database called Funding. And we're going to use this database for all kinds of funding initiatives or opportunities. Right now, we're going to focus on this Rising Senior Fund. And these are the properties across the top, but I'll also show them to you here. These are the properties that the information from the survey will dump into. And we show those in a second. And the way Notion looks, you have these entries. The name is the name of the Rising Senior Fund, the year of the Rising Senior Fund. We do it that way so when we look at the student database, we can get all the funding categories that they would have received. So we name it in this generic way with some focus on time, in this case 2023 entry, and then their full name. We link that full name. And this is what will come from the Google form. So the status always will come in as proposed. We'll then add a date to it when that comes in as well. So we have to set up the Zapier. You create a new Zap. It starts untitled, so we'll call Rising Senior Fund Proposals. The first item is a trigger. So the trigger is going to be something that's going to come from, in this case, Google Sheets. So I type in Sheets, I get the Google Sheet. Now, what's the trigger? It's a new or updated spreadsheet row. And we're just going to do a new spreadsheet row. We're not going to be updating those sheets. So we'll just put that in there. So that's the trigger. When that happens, when somebody submits, then this thing will get going. It chooses my account automatically. I've already logged in. And now I have to choose the spreadsheet. So I go here, and I've already connected to Google Sheets, so it knows where to look. Type Rising Senior Fund, proposals, there it is there. And if you look at the spreadsheet, there's the name, so it's already there. So I choose that one, and then which worksheet. Typically, I just have the first one there. I don't have any other ones. So that's usually very easy to pick as well. And it'll show you all the sheets. Hit continue. Test to make sure there's something in there. So when you do this the first time, you have to submit a dummy entry. I test it, and it found my submission. So that's great. So it knows it can find it. The next step, having found that new entry, I then dump it into Notion. So we type Notion, get the latest edition. And here, the event is we're going to create a database item. In Notion, each record is an item. So we're going to add one. And I'm going to choose the account. And I'll choose number 8. In Notion, in the database, you can see right here, I have connected Zapier. That's outside the scope of this training, but pretty straightforward to set up these connections. So that basically allows Zapier to communicate with the Notion database. So I've done that. I choose the account. Then I go find the database. Now this database is called Funding. Let me jump over to Notion again. Up here is the name of the database. It's called Funding. So I can do a search. Found it. So I select that database, and now I'm going to match the entries. So the Google Sheet, these are the entries that I'm matching. Those are the full names. So those will show up here. This is the name of the Rising Senior Fund. 23. Fiscal year, I can manually choose that. This is for 22-23. And again, these are properties in the Notion database. I like to have fiscal year, FY. Those are a pull-down menu. Those are a selection menu, which you can also see here. And Zapier knows that they're there, and so it gives me those choices. I can choose one of those. And I can manually choose that in this case, because every one that's going to come in at this point is going to be there. Now next year, I'll have to update this, and the name of it will be Rising Senior Fund 24. It'll have 23, 24 for the year, that kind of thing. So now it's looking for the email address, and there it is. Oftentimes you want to make sure your dummy data makes very obvious which property it is by the content that shows up. So you can see there's the email and the name. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to match them up without that. So the initiative, these are, again, pull-down menus, Bonner Scholar Program Rising Senior Fund. So that's already determined. This is the initiative here. And there are those options, which are the same options that showed up under initiative. And since every one of these entries is going to be for the Rising Senior Fund, it's very straightforward. We don't have an expended amount. That'll be something we manually enter. Rising Senior Fund budget is one of the properties. So I look here, proposed budget. So just click on that. So that content will go into that field. Prior summer, there's prior summer. New available, nothing there. Awarded, nothing there. Carryover, nothing there. Rising Senior Fund connection. So this is the connection to academic career development. Proposed activity. Proposed activity. Full name, this is the student's name. So put that there. Content, content format. And that's it. Hit continue. And it goes and finds that same dummy data I had found up here in this first step. It finds it. So now it wants to test the action. And what it'll do is it'll send it over to Notion. So I go into Notion to see if it showed up. Sure enough, it showed up. The dummy data is the new data with my name on it. So that's this first entry. And now I have my entry. Now when I see the entry, status is not started. I can change this to proposed. And these are the status steps I have. They're pretty generic. Status is a unique property, so it has these stages to it. You have to do it. It's in progress, complete. You can have a variety of steps within each of these major stages. So we have, it hasn't been started. And you could imagine a number of situations where you'd want an entry in there, but no, it hasn't been started. In this case, it's just been proposed. And then when we sit down to review it, we can say in review. In review means we're looking at it, or the Bonner Foundation is looking at it. And then approved means it's been finally approved. At that point, we take all the approves and move them to check sent. So the status date is the day this happens. We put in today's date. Now here, we have who the student is. And it'll just select by last name. And since Hackett's not in there, I'll type in Hackett, and I'll add a new student into the student database. Actually, at this point, I can just click on it right away and add Bobby Hackett, grad year, status, active, and you can add in the rest of these items. We won't do that right now, but you could. So there's the entry. Now, if I open up the entry, I can see all the stuff that was submitted. And there you have it. Now, we know that the Rising Senior Fund is $500. So that's actually the amount requested. Occasionally, the budget's less than that, but this is asking for the full $500. Now we're done. If I go back to over here to the workflow, we've came in Google Form, Google Sheets. Behind the scenes is auto-entered by Zapier into Notion. We could set up then a confirmation email to the student. So let's go back to Zapier. And I've got this. So that worked. So I hit continue. I'm not going to publish it yet. I'm going to add another step. So here I'm going to go, in this case, I use Gmail. So I'm going to go to Gmail. The event is going to be send an email. I hit continue. I've already connected it to my Bonner Gmail account. I go down here and I say, who's it going to? This email, I can pull it from either one. I like to pull it from the original. So I'm going to email it to the person, the student. I could copy somebody on my staff if I wanted to. So I'll copy Cliff, so Cliff knows that this has come in. Blind copy somebody if I want. It's from me, so I'll just make it from me. You don't have to type your name if you can, if you want. So subject, confirming receipt, and the body type will be plain. We can make it HTML, and then you can go here, put the person's name, comma. You can put whatever you want there. You could even put in the proposal. Rising Senior Fund. You can then put in each of the items. So simple letter, no attachment, signature. You can put that in there. You don't need to, and hit continue. And then it asks you there to test that as well. So you can see what it looks like up here. And then you can test the action. Oftentimes that first test is one where you put your own email address. So you can go look at your email and see that it's working. And then when you're done, you hit publish. If there's an existing data from a prior work you've been doing, you can transfer it at this point because it's a brand new Zap. They give you that opportunity the very first time you use it. But if everything's brand new for the first time, you can just skip that and go to My Zap, or you can close this and you're ready to go. So that's the process. And we go back over here. We did set up the Zap. You review it. And your review, going over here, you can say in review. It means we think it's okay. If you're not happy with it, you can say proposed, and you may get in touch with the student and say, hey, I need more information, or can you resubmit it with some additional information? Otherwise, you're waiting for the Bond Foundation to look at it. And there's a couple ways we can think about processing that, but I'll leave that for another day. And that's how we can handle the Rising Senior Fund proposals in a more automated fashion. Thanks.